start this video. This is a video that is honestly not for everybody, so if certain topics are triggering to you or just you don't like listening to stuff like that, I would really recommend you to click out of this video. So recently I have begun to open myself up a little bit more than I usually have for a long time. And the reason is because I'm quite honestly tired of not getting out of my comfort zone, of getting anxious about things. I just want to stop being in my head, which is hard sometimes for me, and I'm pretty sure to someone out there. And the reason I'm making this video is because I feel like it will help me, but it will also help a lot of people understand other people before you judge them or you think a certain way about them, because we just don't really know what's going on in people's lives and what they have gone through or what they are going through at the moment. I'm sorry it's taking a while. It's just trying to see how I'm going to start this video. So I recently have discussed not why, but I have been talking about my anxiety, finally facing something that I have bottled up inside me for a very long time, since I was 5 years old. I told my mom not so long ago, and it was a conversation that was very hard for me to have with her because I was scared, and I just didn't want to hurt her. So it took me a very long time to tell her, and she's just been through a lot herself. Well, she's gone through a lot herself, and I just didn't know how to put her in that position because I didn't want her to feel like it was her fault. Basically, that's the reason why I didn't tell my mom, and I won't say all the details about my mom's life or anything like that. So there will be things that I don't say, but not because I don't want to say them. Well, I guess I don't want to say them because it's not my story to tell. I'm just gonna say whatever what I've gone through. And I don't do this, I'm not making this video to make anybody feel bad about me. I mean, sorry for me. I'm just doing this to talk about it and for you to know that the things that you see happening out there, they're much closer to you than you think they might be. And just to have compassion for others and to know that things take time to heal, and a lot of people don't talk about them. So the reason I have anxiety, but when I was small, my mom had to leave and go to work because she had to provide for me and for her as a single mother. So what she thought was in my best interest was to leave it with my grandparents so they could take care of me while she went off to work. And she worked as an in-house maid, basically. So she did everything. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of the kids, everything you can think of like a nanny does. And she did all of this to provide for me and for her and for us to have a good future and for me to have a really good future. And she couldn't have me in that house while she was taking care of me, so she left me with my grandparents, and that was really far away. And she visited often, and she was really young. She was 21 and she had to make hard choices. So that's as much as I'm gonna say about that. And I'll say now about my story, but that's just a little background, and I don't want anybody to think or say that it was my mom's fault, that whatever happened to me happened to me. She couldn't have known. So I live with my grandparents, and my grandparents took care of me. I have a really great grandfather and grandmother, loving, caring. I mean, they have their issues and stuff, but who doesn't? So in the ranch that we lived in, it was my grandfather, my grandmother, and my cousin, my uncle's son, and we all lived together. I was very young, and my grandparents, I guess, I don't know, they never noticed, or I guess they didn't notice, because, I mean, I don't know, but basically, my cousin abused me. He sexually assaulted me from the age that I was 5, I believe. I really don't remember. It's not something that I like to think about, but it went on for years. I guess you could say, but it went on for about 2 years, and I say went on for 2 years because my mom finally made good money. So I am pausing the video right here because I just want to give a little bit of background on this. My mom had to leave me in a sense because my grandparents wouldn't let her take me unless she had a sustainable amount of money. And at this point, when she finally took me, is when she had the money to prove to my grandparents that she could take care of her and myself. So just wanted to put that out there. And she took me back with her, and she didn't have to work there. She found another job where she and I could obviously be together, but she did have an apartment. And don't think that my mom had anything to do with it, because it didn't. She made a lot of sacrifices to get to the place she needed to be. She had no one she could rely on but herself, and she thought she could rely on my grandparents to protect me and to take care of me. And I guess some people will say they failed, but I don't know. I'm not here to put blame on anybody. I'm just here to say my story, and no matter how scary it is for me to say it, I want to talk about it. So you might ask yourself, why didn't you tell anybody? Well, first of all, I was 5. I did have a feeling that what was going on was not right, but I didn't know how to tell someone, or my grandparents or my grandfather. I didn't. I didn't know how to talk about it. Plus, my cousin always said, don't tell anybody, or it could be worse. I will go after somebody else, and I will do to them what I do to you. And he made me do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. And this went on, like I said, for 2 years, and nobody knew. Not any aunt, not any uncle, and honestly, not any aunt or any uncle knows about this. I told my mom this years later, when I was already, let's say, I think I was 16, and I was 14. I didn't tell my mom until I was 14. My cousin was in Mexico at that time, and we were living here in Texas. We had moved from Los Angeles, which is where we lived for a very long time too. And my cousin was not around, so there was nothing that we could do about it, right? And nobody knew about this but my mom, and the way I told her, I don't even know how I got the courage to tell her. So I told her one day, and I think we were in her room, I told her, and I walked away because once I told her that was it, I hugged her, and then I walked up to my room and told her I never want to talk about this ever again. But it was something that I needed to take off from my chest and just finally tell someone, because since I was 5, nobody knew. Not my mom, not anybody, not a soul on this world knew about it. And I was always a bubbly person, always very happy. I've always seen the best in people, and I love so hard. And I don't think nobody would suspect, because why would they? There was nothing wrong with me. I never showed it. I was not an anxious kid. I had a pretty good self-esteem until I moved from my second elementary school, and I moved to my third elementary school because my mom and I would move a lot, and for her work, and for the sake of keeping us together, because she never wanted to leave me alone again with my grandparents or anybody. So she did her best, and we moved a lot. And I moved to my third elementary school, where I met some friends, and it was fun, and I had my first bully ever. And this is already let me see, this is 2 years later for me not seeing my cousin and not being in that environment anymore. So I was pretty good. I had pushed that far off my mind, and I had my mom. I had so much love for my mom, and I stopped thinking about it, because there's nothing better than having your mom's love. And my mom was my best friend. She still is my best friend. And she loved me so much. She did a lot for me. She sacrificed a lot for me. And just having her around made things much better. I felt like I had my hero next to me. I'm sorry. Like I said, years had already passed, and as soon as I was with my mom, I just felt like I said, I had like a superhero by my side, always protecting me, taking care of me, and she was so loving, and she's the best mom. She's literally my hero. She's everything to me, and nothing mattered anymore. Everything that happened to me, I didn't care. I tried to tell myself that I didn't care, and I just tried to forget about it. And like I said, years passed, and I moved to another elementary school. It was 4th grade, and I think this is when those scars came back up, because I got bullied for anything. I got bullied for my moles here and these, and because I couldn't really speak English very good, because I mostly spoke Spanish at home, and and I love my culture, and I always was a little different than other kids, and I decided to, you know what, let me just pay more attention and speak better. And I don't know, my enunciation wasn't that good, and I guess I was just different because I tried to enjoy my life as much as I could, and I did. I was a very happy kid despite everything. Like I said, once I was with my mom, it was like I could be a kid again, because I knew I had her protection. I knew she was always going to be there, and she was never going to let anything bad happen to me. And yeah, so like I said, then 4th grade came, and it was 4th, 5th grade, and I tried not to let it get to me, but it did. It really did. I know there's a lot of people that think bullying is fine and it makes your kids stronger, and that in this generation, kids can't take a joke. But though there's certain kids that probably can. For example, my husband, he's very, very playful, and people can tell him things and it doesn't affect him. And I wish I was like that, but I'm not. And that's okay, because that's who I am. You know, it's maybe because of what has happened to me, or maybe it's not. Maybe this is who I've always been, despite everything. And yeah, so bullying, I don't really think it's good for your kids. Toughen them up, because you don't know what the other person is going through. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you just never know what people are facing and what people are going through in their families. Everybody's family is not perfect. I know that. And I know people have gone through far worse things than I have, and they're living just like me. Nobody knows why all of a sudden they have anxiety and they hate being looked at, and to be in close proximity to others, or highly sensitive. That's just my reality, because like I said, I'm finally letting all of this come to its surface. I don't want to carry this with me anymore, the bullying and the other stuff. The bullying really did affect me for a while, because I was already insecure, you know. I already didn't like people touching me when I didn't know they were gonna touch me, like my shoulder or anything, you know. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel safe. And then for other girls to go ahead and, I don't know, I guess point things out of myself that were not the best, and make sure that their friends said it too, and then the whole school says it. It did affect me, because I started believing everything they said, and I carried that with me until we graduated, and that girl went in a whole new direction, and so did I. I went to a different school, and all those girls who were her friends also seemed to have disappeared, which was really, really good. I finally could, you know, make my own friends, and nobody know about that. And I wanted to move pass forward that. I wanted to move beyond that. And I went to a different middle school. I decided just be yourself, and if somebody wants to be your friend, good. If somebody doesn't, that's fine too, you know. They don't know what everybody else has said about you, so it's okay. So 6th grade came, and I made a couple of friends. Middle school was amazing, because again, like I said before, I was really good at pushing all of that way in the back of my head, and I know it's not healthy, and I know that now. I shouldn't have done that. I should have tried to talk to someone about it, and I didn't. And I feel like the moments that I have talked about it, like I said with my mom, I just told her don't ever bring it back up. And I said it really angry. I said it very loudly too, like just don't, like I just wanted to say it out loud for once, just to have that relief. And it felt good. It felt good for someone to just know, to have that just out there. And my mom tried to get me help, and I just never wanted to. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to, because it's hard, because they ask you things and you start remembering every single little thing. It never goes away. For me, it hasn't. I can't hear certain things because it brings those memories back, and it's hard. And I'm sorry I'm going all over the place, but this is just how it is, I guess, in my head. But like I was saying, I made friends. I was happy. I pushed it all back. I made friends, and people liked me for who I was. And those were the happiest years, those 2 years before the bullying and those 4 years after the bullying. And then we had to move from LA to Houston.